Hi, welcome to Learn to Read Tarot with Cindy. So I'm going to try to be like really profound and professional during this little series. But you know, I have to keep it fun too. Because what is learning if it's not a little bit fun? Then it starts to put you to sleep. It's no good to fall asleep if you're trying to learn something new. So I was kind of thinking, I have had it in the comments, not very often, but the odd time of, people asking me, how did you learn to read tarot? How do you learn to, what's the first step? What's the first deck I should get? And I thought, you know what? Since I have a little more free time and I'm finding I need to stimulate my mind a bit, and I'm doing that in other ways outside of, creating this little video series. But, when you're going to teach people something, you relearn it yourself. So I really enjoy that aspect of it too, because it's a refresher for me as well. So I'm going to start talking about the major arcana in learning to read tarot. That's where we're going to start, because that's really where you should start. There are 22. There's 22 cards in the major arcana. And you want to understand the basic meaning of the cards. Now, the first deck that I got was probably not the best deck to get to learn tarot. I'll show you what it was. The deck that I have out on the table right now is the Rider-Waite Tarot, and that is the original. That is the Holy Bible of Tarot in a way. It is the Holy Grail of Tarot. The deck that I learned with was the what is this deck called again? The Spellcasters, the modern day Spellcasters deck. And I chose it because I was an artist, and I thought, maybe the artwork in it will help me connect with the tarot. That did not actually come true. It took a while. It actually was very difficult. It confused me a lot. If I was going to recommend to anyone at this point, since I've done so much with it, I would recommend starting with the deck that I have on here, because it gets you into the very basic symbolism of the tarot, and I'm going to start with that for you. So, it's nice to have a little pocketbook, something like this. If your deck comes with one, great. Mine didn't, so I bought this at a little show actually here in town where I live. Once a year they have at the Optimist Club. I think it's a psychic and like a psychic fair, and it was a table. So I got this, and you can see I even have like little tabs. Literally, I'm going to suggest, if you want to do tarot, prepare yourself to be like you're studying in school. Like, there's a lot of information to take in, and then you get a little bit, and then you go up to the next level and you expand, and then you go to the next level and you expand your knowledge. It keeps going, and you never stop learning. It's like life. You never stop learning. I still, to this day, watch other tarot readers because I still learn from the information and their perspective on the different cards and how the different cards speak with each other, because that's important too. So the first step, the very first step I want to say is deciding that you want to learn to read tarot. So that's the first step, and making that commitment for yourself and realizing that you're not going to be the best, most experienced tarot reader right out of the gates. It's going to take some time, and it's going to take some learning. It's like anything, like even being an artist, if you don't have the basic concepts of complementary colors and design and everything that goes with it, then, you could still have some talent, but you need to kind of hone it in and bring in all the basic, the ace. You need the Ace of Pentacles to start before you can become the King of Pentacles, right? So that's what that is. So let's start. So the basic meaning of the cards, and through doing that, I find the book is the good way to start. It's a good way to start with the basics, and I even made notes. I don't know where my notebook is, because I'm the type of person I find to learn something and for me to retain it, the more ways that I incorporate putting that information into my mind. Like, I find reading it and writing it and even speaking it out at the same time, I retain it better than just reading it. I know some people are geniuses and they can just read stuff. I can't do that. So I have to incorporate. If I'm chewing gum too at the same time, that even makes it even better. But Start with a book, start with a basic meaning. Some people will argue this and say you should develop the meaning on your own first. I think that's the second step, myself personally. And you start at 0. Start with the Fool card. I'm going to show you each one. I am going to have timestamps in this video is my plan, so that people can go back and say, okay, well, I want to see what to you the meaning of the Emperor is, or how do you read the Emperor card, or how do you read the Chariot card. So there will be timestamps throughout this video, and you'll probably see that in the description, so that you can just jump. And if you're kind of learning and studying, you can say, how did she describe the Hermit again? Or what is the interpretation of the Hermit? So I'm going to put the timestamps in. I am going to go over as well the energy of the cards, what the cards mean to you, what the basic meaning of the cards is in general, like to anybody looking at them, how the cards communicate to each other as well. And you should all just do this with the major arcana to start with, because it is 22 cards. Like, it's a lot of information. Start with 5. Literally, I would start with the first 5. Like, I would start with the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, and maybe the Emperor. And just start learning those and play with those. So I am going to have timestamps in this video about all those different aspects, because there's so many different ways to interpret the cards. And I'm just going to start with the major arcana and doing that. And then once you get comfortable with that, then I would say then start to go into the suits of the deck. And we have Pentacles, Swords, Wands, and Cups. And each one of these represent different elements of life and the energies that we all harness. Like, tarot reading is really energy reading. It really is about energy reading. I would say it's something that's very ideal for people that would identify themselves as empathic or sensitive individuals, sensitive to energy, emotions, feelings, body language, people that are just a little more in tune to that aspect of communication as well, because this is really what this is. And yeah, so let's get started. The first thing, like I said, is I would suggest the basic meaning that the author provides. So I'm not going to read all of these. I'm just going to give you an example. So the Fool card, and I would not even worry about reversals to start. Is it really? They do not even talk about the Fool in the book? Are you kidding me? So funny. Maybe they put it 0 at the end. Okay, they put theirs at the end. That's funny. Because I would put 0 at the beginning. You start from nothing, and then from there you grow and develop. But this book has the Fool at the end. So, but myself, the Fool represents the beginning. It is the leap of faith. It is a childlike energy. It is the little child inside all of us that will just take a chance sometimes and go out and have fun. So, as again I said, I would not even worry about reversals when you start. I wouldn't even worry about reversals until you've been doing tarot for a year or two, maybe. It's a lot of information to take in. And reversals can just make it a lot more complicated. You don't want to stress yourself out. If you put it, like if you wanted to become a brain surgeon, you wouldn't just delve into a brain surgeon book. You wouldn't just go to university and start doing brain surgeon courses. Like there's a lot of stuff leading up to that. This is sort of the same thing. It's not really rocket science or brain surgery, but there is a process. So this is the description. A youth steps precariously towards a precipice. He is looking up to the heavens, seemingly unaware of the danger awaiting him. His only possessions are carried in a small sack over his shoulder. This is a card rich in symbolism, with a depth of meaning going beyond mere foolishness. Okay, and then there's there's all sorts of stuff. So what I would do, I would either get a highlighter and I would highlight key points that mean something to you with this card. What does that mean? What are the key points that the creator of this deck indicates that means something to you for this card? Highlight it, or like myself, I had a little notebook and I would make little notes because I found I remembered it better doing that way than just reading it and highlighting it and reading it and reading it. So the Fool, it is that leap of faith. It could be leaping into a dangerous situation, a foolhardy situation. It could also bring you a bountiful harvest that no one else took the chance to go towards. This is having that sort of naive innocence that a child would have. And sometimes they will get themselves into trouble, but sometimes they will also find something pretty interesting and amazing that they've never discovered before. The little dog here serves as a companion, a reminder that you may be stepping over the edge if you're not careful. So it's important to understand what this card means. Is it a leap of faith? Or is it something that may lead you to an experience, an opportunity that you've never had before? That depends on the cards around it. And that's kind of the trick with tarot. So this is, to me, this is Aries energy. Aries is the childlike energy of the zodiac. It is the first in the zodiac, and it is 0. So that is the Fool card there. And I've sort of described how I would research and try to learn each one, but yourself, you will also need to then start incorporating your own belief system into this card. What does it represent to you? I mean, myself, it's funny because I have a little white dog. So I'm always going on little adventures and she comes with me. And most of the time she's hesitant because she's a Gemini and I'm an Aries. So she's got the duality of wanting to go with mommy, but oh, we've never been there before. That might be dangerous, right? So this is like your little subconscious. So I see that, but I know because I have the experience. And so does this person really theoretically above the dog, right? This person has a more consciously aware mind, let's say, a mind that can anticipate the leap. Perhaps this person is aware that at the bottom of the cliff, there is a big pool of water and you have swam in that water before. There are no rocks, there are no obstacles, and it is easily 50, 60 feet deep. You're not going to hit the bottom when you jump off, but there's something spectacular at the bottom, but the little dog doesn't know that. Do you see how there's so many different ways that you could look at this? And the sun is rising. This is opportunity. There might be wish fulfillment, but maybe you're walking away from wish fulfillment, right? Because it's behind you. It's not necessarily in front of you. There's so many ways that you could read this card, but it is, in a very simple way, it is that leap of faith. Is it an intelligent leap of faith or it is a foolhardy leap of faith? It depends. So that is 0. That is where we start. The next one is the Magician. And here we have this for me, is you will find there are specific cards in the major arcana that are absolutely, definitely, unequivocally the particular zodiac sign. The Magician for me is Gemini energy. I feel the duality in this, really reaching with the mind. Gemini is a very mindful sign, really thinking. And that thought process can bring to you what is in the heavens down to earth. The Magician here has everything that they need. They actually, sitting on the table here with this Magician, is the cup, the pentacle, the sword, and the wand. And that is what is represented in the entire tarot as everything that we have within us. So the Magician is signifying that you do have all of the tools of the trade, everything that you need to manifest. The Magician really is about manifestation because it is bringing the ideas of the mind, the dreams, the hopes, the inspiration, wherever that comes from for you. Some people say it's coming from heaven here. It's coming from beyond earthly realms. Where does the inspiration come from? Is it just the little neurons in your mind zapping off, creating a thought process? Or is there a deeper connection, communication here? And it's bringing that idea and bringing it to earth. Now, the Magician also can sometimes represent someone who's in and out of your life. You never know when they're popping in and you never know when they're popping out, because that's what the Magician does. So you can also look at cards in a very basic way. Like I said, it's not easy to read tarot. There's so many different ways. It's just trying to understand the meaning, the basic meaning as you get started. Because that meaning can change. So if you have a solid foundation, then your mind can become more flexible to the changes that can also be represented in this card. So it really is manifestation. That is the best way, if you want to symbolize the Magician, is manifestation and having what you need. This is a reminder. If this card comes out for you, it is a reminder the universe speaking to you that you truly do have everything that you need to manifest anything that you want. It's how you use your mind and create the opportunities to happen for you. This takes us to number 3. This card, you could probably, the High Priestess, you could spend a long time going into all of the different meanings of the symbols and the artwork in this card. I will actually pull out the book. I'm not really well versed in, this is a bit of a religious card. And there's, if I remember correctly, there's a lot about, look at the Torah, and she's holding the Torah, the book, so it is knowledge. So this is the description. This is moon energy as well. For me, I get, like, this is very Piscean. It's not the Pisces card of the deck, though. And I also get Scorpionic energy from it, but it's very high Pisces. A lot of Pisces energy in this card, but it is not the official Pisces card. A young woman is seated. The crescent moon is at her feet, symbolizing the emotional nature. Her garments are aqua in color and flow down about her, revealing the fluidity of feelings. She is holding a scroll with the word Torah imprinted on it. The Torah is the 5 sacred books of Moses found in the Old Testament. The High Priestess embraces cosmic law and is given the understanding of the rhythms and patterns of the universe. On the tapestry behind her are pomegranates and palms, which stand for fertility and creativity. She sits between 2 pillars, one black and one white. Of the mystic temple, on one of these columns is the letter B for Bina, or Bina, the Hebrew word for indicating the loving power of the world mother, the feminine force in the universe. The other pillar holds the letter J for Jehovah the Father, the masculine face of divinity. And the author here says, my own interpretation, the cards lend themselves to many meanings, which is true, is that the B can also represent Buddha, mind, and the J, Jesus, heart. Her position is midway between them, telling us that she represents the middle path between these natural opposites, heart and mind. It is in this way that she finds and bestows balance, compassion, and illumination. And this goes on again too, right? Like a whole page here about the actual, what this card means in a reading. This really does speak of, you know, what exists between heaven and earth and mind and heart. When the heart, I always like to say, like, there's a little thread of energetic, and of course there is, that runs right through the body. And it is the special connection that exists energetically between the heart and the mind. And through this, one can really develop intuition and a knowing. And that's that intuitive higher element of thinking where you just know and you're able to tap in. And I like to say, for me, myself, the High Priestess is a master of the Fool energy, because she just knows when that leap of faith, how that leap of faith, not necessarily how that leap of faith will provide what it is that she is wanting to know or gain, but she just knows that it will. It is a very, and the Fool is the journey actually through the major arcana. It is starting at 0, and it is the development through this. And number 2 is also very much about duality and choices. And we have the duality here. I really like that the Buddha and the Jesus, the mind and the heart, coming together. When this card comes out too in a reading, a lot of times it does talk about the unknown, but yet you do know. You just haven't found the way or opened your heart and mind connection to get the answer, or you're not listening to it yet. And depending where this card sits in a reading, it can also be telling you that the unknown will become known, but there's definitely a process that needs to happen for you to get to that point. So the High Priestess is a very, very powerful card. When it comes out, it is I think a very strong reminder of your own inner power. I do, like when I'm doing a reading too, and it's your advice, I always say, see, they're telling you to listen to me. Your guides are telling you to listen to the person giving you advice. And that is it too. Because a tarot reading, I've heard it also described as, it will only tell you what you already know, right? It's just going to tell you what you already know. And that's a lot of what this card is. And it is the duality of the masculine and the feminine. Even though the depiction is a feminine image in the card. And that is something else that, you know, maybe I should have spoken about at the beginning of the reading. Whether it's a masculine or a feminine image, it doesn't matter. It can be a man or a woman that this energy is being directed to, or that you're harnessing. So let's get into, now this is interesting. So then this takes us into the Empress. And she is number 3. Threes are really about growth and expansion. And groups. The Empress, now, again, she isn't specifically like written in stone, a particular zodiac sign. For myself, everybody's a little different, and you will be too. I just grabbed a sip of water, sorry. For myself, I feel her energy as cusp. I feel her sitting between Aries and Taurus energy, because Aries is really kind of defined as a master manifester, because a lot of the time, because this leap of faith energy is there. So one of the biggest obstacles for anyone in manifestation is action. People just don't take action, so you don't get what you want to manifest. You can sit all day in the best energy with the best imagination. The world doesn't come knocking at your door. You have to go and get it most of the time. Now, so the seed is planted with Aries, and then Taurus is the one that looks after it. The Taurus is the energy that is patient, is in the field, will stay in the field. Where Aries, you know, plants all the seeds and runs off and finds something new to do. The Taurus energy is what nurtures it and looks after it. And the Empress is often symbolized as a woman who is pregnant. Now, that might be in this deck. She has a very loose garment that she's wearing, but a lot of the people do. But the Empress is about that. It is manifesting things into the three-dimensional. It is creating something from nothing. And the seed is planted, the Aries energy, you could say that within her, a seed is planted. And within the womb of the Empress is the Taurus energy, where that seed becomes life, and that seed becomes something that is birthed. So when the Empress comes out in a reading, it is very often telling you that, well, there's two things, but we'll stay on the track of what it's telling you in the theme that I'm talking about, is that new things can be birthed here. There's the potential for something brand new to be birthed. Your manifestation will actually become real if you stay on the path that you're on. So it's a very strong indicator of that success in that process. So with the Empress, something else to note about her, this is how I see her, and I've never really seen it written, but I see it myself, and I have noticed other tarot readers identifying her as this, as the embodiment of all the queens in the deck. So this is a very mature, stable, grounded, sought after feminine energy. Now, a man can harness this. Like if this comes out in a reading and the question is, if it's a man getting a reading and the question is and he's interested, I'm just going to keep it heterosexual just to keep it simple right now, because I'm just talking about masculine and feminine, but we all know that can be reversed, and men can hold feminine energy and masculine, and women can hold masculine and feminine energy as well. So I'm just to simplify it, if a man was asking about how a woman felt about him and the Empress card came out, it would be like seeing this person as a prize. This is everything that I've ever wanted, everything I've ever hoped for and looked for, because it is the embodiment. It is beyond the maturity of one queen or one king. But we'll get to that in a minute. So the Empress is the embodiment of that. So this is someone who has the balance and the power and the maturity to pull out the Queen of Swords when they need to. Yes, there's certain things that need to be cut out of my life at certain times because they're not serving me. And I identify them as not serving me. They're also not serving others because it needs to serve all. So that energy can come out. Now, she can also be the Queen of Wands. She can also be very entrepreneurial. She can take leaps of faith. She can take action. She can go and plant seeds. She can also be the Queen of Pentacles and be very nurturing and look after things and look after the home and look after the career. And so you can see what's, and the Queen of Cups, like that very loving, emotional nurturing, but knowing when to apply that, knowing when it's appropriate, not being too strong in one and not the other. It is a very balanced energy. So it is sort of, I like to describe as the prize in the tarot. If this comes out as someone that you have feelings for or has feelings for you, it is a good indicator. This is almost always a good indicator. I think even when it's in reverse, although I think if it's in reverse, it can indicate infertility, but then there's usually cards around it that talk about why that's happening. This is a very fertile card. So if it does come out as well with other things like Ace of Cups, Two of Cups, Four of Wands, it could also be an indication that there is a possibility for pregnancy. So that is the Empress in a very tiny little nutshell. And I'm actually going to hold her up with the Emperor in a second. And I think it's interesting, her duality and how I see that in an actual example in our world today. So the Emperor is the Aries card in the deck. And this is the first card in the tarot that is absolutely 100% Aries. So, and then we're going to go to another one in a minute that is absolutely 100% Taurus. So this is the Aries card in the deck. So if you are asking about someone and this card comes out, it could indicate that the person is an Aries. It could indicate that Aries is significant in their chart somewhere. So for myself, my sun sign is Aries, but my moon is Taurus. And my rising is Gemini. So I could harness this energy at any given time, depending on the situation in my life. And that also is accurate for someone that you're doing a reading for. It may not be obvious. This person, you know, if you just know their basic birthday, you may just say, oh, well, they're not an Aries. Well, maybe it's in their Venus if it's a love reading that you're doing. Or maybe it's in their rising. So it depends. And it could just be an energy that they're actually harnessing. So what is the energy of the Emperor? Some people say that it's a very controlling person. I don't like to put any negative energy on any card unless there's cards around it that support that. So it's how we look at things, right? It's your perspective. You can see an Emperor, you can see someone who's displaying energy as an Emperor and say, well, that person is really selfish, or that person is doing their own thing and not thinking about others. This energy is about taking control of your life, being the leader in your life, being very confident in what it is that you want in your life, and going for it. And I guess too, as being an Aries, there's nothing wrong with that. Because when you're leading your life in your true, authentic self, then you attract to you what is truly and authentically for you. And that's what the Emperor does. The Emperor is also, for me, the embodiment of all of the kings in the deck. This person has just as much power as this person. If these two come up in a reading for me, and it is a relationship reading, this is a very, very strong couple. This is, yeah, like I would qualify it as probably the power couple of all power couples. Because you can get the King and Queen of Swords coming out, and that would be a power couple because they are the same. They're harnessing the feminine, masculine energies within one sign, or one suit, or one energy field. Where these two can actually harness the energy of any field that they need to. The Emperor can be the King of Swords, can be very good in business, can be cut and dry. I need the facts and only the facts because that's what's going to lead me to success. The Emperor can also really go into his emotions and his feelings. Now the difference between the kings and the queens, and that's important when we talk about the Emperor and the Empress, for me, because they embody them. The queens are about expressing feelings and emotions and passions and desires and hopes and dreams. Whereas the kings are more about controlling that. The king has, and sometimes his depth can be even deeper than the queen, but it's not shown. It's controlled. It's harnessed in a different way. It's utilized in a different way. the Emperor's energy. And myself personally, I have to say that that's an energy that I'm always trying to learn about and explore, and because I'm feminine. But being Aries, I do actually, it is a masculine sign. And I feel like in my own life is trying to understand this better. I think it's a fascinating energy because there's an awful lot of power behind having the same feelings and emotions that this energy can have, but it's controlled. And it's controlled in a way that I feel the Emperor makes decisions based on all the different elements in the tarot, in feelings and emotions and passions, desires, truth, understanding, clarity, three-dimensional, like actually applying it to real life with the Pentacles, creating abundance, patience. It's a very strong energy, and I don't think a lot of people give the Emperor credit. It's a wonderful card to come out. And two, the Emperor is also identified, if you are doing a relationship reading and the Emperor comes out, this is someone who's there for the long haul. This is not somebody who's in and out. This is somebody who's there. This is a committed energy. The Emperor is very committed to what the Emperor does and is not easily swayed. And some people will identify that as someone who's selfish because they're not getting what they want from the Emperor. But the Emperor has a plan and he's sticking to it. So I hope you have more respect for the Emperor. I hear he gets a bad rap all the time in readings, and I don't think any card, I don't even think, I'm not there yet, but the Seven of Swords I see as getting a bad rap all the time in readings. That is the cheating and sneaking away card. No, it's not. No, it's not. You stick around and you'll find out what it really is, but it is not that. If there are cards around it that signify it, then okay, yes. But most of the time there aren't. So it's not. You can't jump to conclusions in tarot. You really can't. You can't jump to conclusions in life. So that's the Emperor and the Empress. So, and we start, because Aries is first, and people are like, yeah, Aries always first. It's the child in the zodiac. But yet, it is also very powerful because it hasn't been influenced greatly by outside sources yet because it is the first. So it still, in a way, is very connected with source, with divine, because it's closest to. If you look at a young child, they are closest to divine energy. They have recently come from divine energy. They're not influenced by all of the crap that goes on in adult life yet. They're still really like a really young one, you know, prior to school even, preschool. That is still a very innocent, explorative energy, and they know what they want and when they want it. So that is the Emperor. Now, we're going to get to the Hierophant, which is the Taurus card, number 2 in the zodiac. And do you remember when I talked about, for me, the Empress is about, you know, the seed of life, which is planted in with the Aries energy, that seed. And then the Taurus is the sign that stays and looks after that seed, because Aries doesn't do that. Aries is too busy doing other things. And that's kind of like the energy of Aries, like that spark, that initiator, getting it started. It is a cardinal sign. So that's what it does. It gets things started. Taurus is fixed, earth energy. There's nothing else better than to create that seed, that spark, and to allow it to turn into something and grow into something magnificent and wonderful. And then that's what the Hierophant is. The Hierophant is that energy, is that very stable energy. It's often connected to a deeper spiritual connection. So, you know, and it can be connected to marriage. It can be connected to the to all of the, I want to say, institutions within our world that created and keep it going. Now, there's different ways to look at those institutions too. They're always evolving. You know, some of those institutions are great, some of them aren't, some of them are in between. They're all evolving and always changing and adjusting. And I think it's great because when you look at the Hierophant in newer decks, it has changed and adjusted too. And it's not as authoritative. It's not, you know, everyone bowing down to the Hierophant, because that can be a little bit, it can be, I find the Hierophant can be much more dominating than the Emperor card. There's no one bowing down to the Emperor. The Emperor sits alone in his throne, where the Hierophant has people here bowing down. So there is a bit of a submissive energy with the Hierophant. Now, when we think of that, and we think of, you know, the spark of life, that spark, And then the energy that keeps it going is the next step. I'm just going to hop over to the Empress again. I hope it's not confusing you, but there's a duality here for me between the Empress, with the Emperor and the Hierophant. I feel very strongly, this is how I see the Empress as. I know some people say that she's Gemini. I don't see that at all. I don't see Gemini in the Empress at all for myself personally. I see her as the embodiment of the Emperor and the Hierophant, because it is Aries and Taurus energy. And she is the embodiment of all the queens in the deck. A really good example of that is actually Queen Elizabeth, because she is actually born on the cusp. She is Aries and Taurus, and she is the Queen of England. And I think it's a really interesting example how that exists right now in our time, to give you an idea. And she sits on her throne. She has to make her own decisions. She makes a lot of decisions. It's a very isolated energy. You know, when you say you're at the top, you are truly alone, because there are not very many people that can relate to what it is that you do. But yet she's also under the Church of England, right? So that's why I see this in the Empress. It's quite interesting, no? Yeah. So the Hierophant is Taurus energy. And the Hierophant is that commitment card. It's the commitment to yourself. It is the commitment to others around you. Like I said, it is a very strong card for institutions. There are 2 keys down here. You can, let's look in the book actually for what those 2 keys are. To me, it is opening up the possibilities, and that is up to you. Things will be presented to you throughout life, and it is how you choose to embrace them. The primary principle is wisdom being revealed with the Hierophant. It's kind of taking the Empress up to a 3-dimensional level, isn't it? A religious leader occupies a throne. He sits between 2 pillars. Again, the duality. But the symbolism of these structures is not the same as that found in the High Priestess card. The Hierophant represents the outer expression of inner development, or the esoteric side of life. The High Priestess represents the hidden inner side, or the esoteric. The type of pillars in the Hierophant card are created to strengthen a cathedral and are thus supportive of the outer form of formal power, structure, or religion. Or of religion, sorry. The Hierophant is holding a staff, culminating in a triple cross, indicating the threefold nature of the Christian Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. The gesture of the right hand tells us that the power of this spiritual triad, repeated in the 3 crosses on his robe, comes from above. This triplicity is also indicative of the 3 aspects of the human personality: physical, emotional, and mental. At the very bottom of the piece of fabric containing the 3 crosses is a square, symbol of earthly manifestation. Thus, we have the message that the Hierophant is endowed with the power and authority, symbolized by the staff, to bring the hidden message of heaven to our practical life on earth. It is easy to understand why, in a number of other tarot decks, this card is known as the Pope. At his feet are 2 keys that may unlock the greater potential within ourselves. These are, of course, the keys to the kingdom. 2 priests kneel before him, one wearing a robe of lilies, faith, the other a robe of roses, love and devotion. These qualities underscore the path that religion demands. And you can see, like, to me, I'm not a big religious person. So the old Hierophant cards, I don't feel comfortable with them, because I feel like there is very much a sense of suppression with a lot of these older cards. But it is also about opening up people's knowledge to the fact that from what comes from above comes to below. And that's too what the Magician is indicating to us, right? That you have this power. This has been a big secret for a long time. The book and the movie The Secret is a really first step in understanding the power that we all have. It's hinted throughout history in all sorts of different ways, and tarot is one of them. Tarot is a very strong way to hint to people that you are in full power of your life and your course. So there's the Hierophant for you. It is a very strong energy. I should pick out, like, another card that has a better Hierophant. And I'll show you how it's changed over... I don't know if this deck would be a good one. It does change and adjust, which are institutions and our whole concept of religion, spirituality change and have been changing as well. Well, of course, it's not going to be easy to find, right? Oh, there we go. Oh, no, he's still kind of like, still in a red robe. He's still sort of like, but it's very fatherly energy. It is a very fatherly energy. And the Taurus is also noted as that, energetically, in the tarot. It is a very fatherly energy. A divine masculine energy. I would put it, too, as the counterpart to the High Priestess. Like, if these two also came out in a reading, I would say that these are two counterparts. These are two people that are very much connected to, you know, they both have the pillar, and it is the feminine and the masculine example of these, right? So now that takes us to the Lovers. Now the Lovers is absolutely 100% Gemini energy. This is all Gemini. This is the Gemini card. This is all about duality, you know, choices. When this card comes up, the original meaning of this in the tarot, like a lot of people now are about, oh, this is a lover, this is a partner coming towards you. You break this down. This could not even have anything to do with a romantic partner. This is about making choices. This is absolutely about moving towards an energy where you have a choice to make. You can make a choice. You're going to have a choice to make. And what is it? And, you know, there's often an obstacle with a mountain in the background. There's an obstacle. How you choose to go through that obstacle or over it or around it is up to you. That's part of the choice process as well. But usually when this is coming up too, it's a choice, and it has to do with a path that might be very divinely guided. Something that is meant for you. And how do you wish to take it now or not? Do you wish to go over the mountain, through it, or around it? What is your choice here? It is more popularly become a choice in romantic partners, the Lovers. And it kind of depends on, you know, what comes out with that card. A lot of times when I'm doing readings, and this card comes out, there are cards around it, like the Ace of Cups, the Knight of Cups, the Four of Wands. Cards that indicate, you know, feelings and emotions and romantic intentions can come out with this card. And that it is. A lot of times it is. So I don't want to say that it's not about making a choice in partnership. A lot of times it is. But the meaning of this from like way back when was just about making a choice. Having a choice to be made. And you're being protected too. There's divine guidance here. You're protected. What is the choice that you're going to make? And it's duality between the masculine and the feminine too. And that balance. And Gemini is all about duality. And, you know, so I get frustrated when I hear other readers get like, sometimes I'll watch a reading, and because I have Gemini, Venus, and Rising, I'll watch Gemini readings sometimes. And I'll see readers that get frustrated with Gemini. And like, you know, you just need to finally make a choice, Gemini, and do this. But you see, but that's the whole interesting experience between Gemini. Gemini is divinity because it is expansion and contraction. It is, yes, I'm going to do it. No, I'm not. I want to explore this. No, I don't. That's like, think about the universe. From nothing came everything. Like the universe is expanding, and at some point that expansion will have to stop, and it will start contracting, won't it? I don't know. I'm just guessing, but it just seems like, you know, what goes up must come down. And that is sort of Gemini energy. And I think it is also a process of making a choice, physically in a sense, and mentally. Where, you know, you may walk towards something and then you decide you want to walk away from it. Because you're also feeling it out. What will it feel like if I do go towards that? How does that make me feel? And as part of the thinking process for Gemini. Or how does it make me feel if I walk away from it? And is understanding that as opposed to just making a decision. Okay, I'm going to do this. So yeah, don't be hard on Gemini. Don't be hard on them. You know, they might drive you crazy, but they'll make your mind expand. So yeah, the duality, the Lovers card. Now the next one is the Chariot. And again, this is absolutely 100% Cancerian energy. This is the Cancer card in the tarot. And this is all about movement. So we can talk about what a card means, again, like from the book. And then you do over time, you know, don't expect either, don't put the pressure on yourself that you have to develop your own meaning on these cards. That will just come naturally and fluidly, and as you do readings and grow, you're going to grow with it. You're going to grow with your deck. This was always about movement to me, like divine, sort of being divinely guided to finally take action. Now, but again, there's so much duality in tarot. There's so much duality in life. There's so many choices to be made. There's so many, you know, even if you make a choice in a direction that you want to go in, how are you going to do that? What's the process? You know, you're going to have different options of what you could do. So life is all about duality. So again, don't be hard on Gemini energy, because it's just showing you what actually exists. They're just living through how the universe functions. Now, this Chariot does have two. Some more modern day decks have just one. And I feel when that card comes out, it's not so much about making a choice so much as it's time to move forward. There's going to be action. There's going to be movement. There's going to be divine guidance here. Now, myself, through doing readings, I got an interesting message a few months ago about Cancer and the Chariot card, and it's about opening portals of love. And Cancer is a very emotional feeling sign, and it comes from very deep down in the ocean. Like, it is the deepest of emotions and feelings. And some people can find that, you know, overwhelming, whether this is an energy that they're experiencing for themselves, Cancerian energy, or it's someone that they're dealing with, because they would be, I want to say, sort of described as one of the deeper emotional signs in the zodiac and in the tarot. So opening portals of love is kind of something that I see, like, so when the Chariot card comes out, for me, this is about a new experience, a new journey that is taking you in a new direction that has something to do with emotions and feelings, and love is coming from a place of love with the Chariot card. That's probably the best way to describe it. It's coming from a place of love, a genuine place of love, feeling, and emotion. And it is the movement to that. Or perhaps it's coming towards you. Again, it depends on what the reading is and the cards around it. So that is Cancer, the Chariot. And again, there's so many symbols in here that you can look at. I could probably spend like 40 minutes to an hour on every single card to go over that, and I still wouldn't get everything. So there's a lot. And again, like you can see, like one of these sphinxes has a breast and the other doesn't. So it's the feminine and the masculine again. And the Chariot is covered in stars, and the stars are all about, you know, making a wish. It's a wish fulfillment. So this, like I said, it is coming from the heart, this energy. It is good energy when it comes forward. But, you know, there's so many symbolisms within this. And we have two different castles in the background. So now let's go to the next card, which is number 8, which is the Strength card. And this is 100% Leo energy. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, because then there's the sun. But yeah, it is. It's 100% Leo energy. This is Leo. This is the Leo in the deck. And there's the lion. So it is. It's absolutely. But look at the duality in this. Like, look at this is a male lion, but it is a depiction of a female, like a woman, holding the lion's mouth. So this is also about strength. It says strength right here. And strength is an interesting thing. Like when we look at what the lion symbolizes, one of the biggest things that the lion symbolizes is leadership and pride. So how do we manage that? How do we balance that? Because if we let that get out of control, we can be really ego-based. Our ego can really run away with us, and we're not doing things to serve others anymore. So it is kind of that, the feminine energy within you being strong enough to suppress the ego when it needs to be suppressed. But this card is also about finding the strength within a challenge often. Being strong to push through a challenge. There's a little bit of that leap of faith coming through, like knowing when it's time to do something or not do something, when to hold back or when to roar. And there's a lot of that that's playing out in this card. So if this card does come out in a reading, it may be asking you, it's time to really try to be strong because you will be facing some challenges. Now, when we face challenges, it's usually to grow, right? It's to grow on an emotional, a mental, a spiritual level, maybe even a physical level. Like maybe there's something that you need to do physically too, that could be coming out in a reading, and you need to strengthen yourself. You need to work on your health. You need to focus on your health. Like there's a lot of different ways that we can look at how we build our strength. You may ask a question, like, why is this happening to me? Why am I going through this right now? And this card comes out. This card will come out a lot when you ask a question like that. And it's because this is a lesson in strength. This is to strengthen you. It's like that babe, the little baby learning to crawl. The crawling process is what gets the muscles stronger, and it gets the balance and the equilibrium. And then they start pulling themselves up, and they can only do it for a short period of time. But once you've gone through some sort of experience or trial in your life, you know, it's not easy at the time. It's never easy getting your muscles stronger. You're sore the next day, right? Like you're sore, and just getting up and doing it feels like a chore. Like, do I want to work out today? Do I want to do that? Yeah, like we can look at what just building your own physical strength means and apply that to an emotional and mental state. And that's exactly what strength is. That's what all these challenges are in life. They are making you stronger. And, you know, this is a little reminder too, to be strong within, right? That to allow the divine energy, the deeper part of you, to be controlling the darker part of you, which is the ego. And that's Leo. That's Leo energy. Just need a quick sip of water. So now this takes us to the Hermit. God, there's a lot of cards. I might do this in two parts. Yeah, I might do this in 2 parts. Of course, you already know that if you're watching the video. That always blows me away. That's always so fascinating how you guys are in my future and you already know what I'm doing. So the Hermit. This is absolutely, unequivocally Virgo. Virgo, earth energy. This is a very spiritual card. This is a really good card. This is like, it's really all about going within and going on your own personal journey to build this, I want to say too, right? It's about this. It's about having met these obstacles, and now you're going within. Now you're sort of strong enough to go on the journey. This is it one of the, yeah, it actually is. I feel like it is the most, of all the cards in the deck, is the simplest, is the most simple card. And it is not the first, like, it really is the first time that anyone is depicted absolutely alone. Like, you could say that for, I mean, whoops, let me grab it. It fell off the table. You could say that for the Magician, but the Magician isn't alone. The Magician's not alone. The Magician has all the tools of the trade. They have so much around them. They have all this abundance. They have all these flowers growing out. They have so much symbolism around them, kind of indicating and showing you all the different things that you have in your power to do and create what you want. The infinity symbol, the connection with things outside and beyond yourself, and how infinite that is and how infinite you are. There's so many symbols and meanings within that card to indicate to you that you're not alone. And even the Emperor holds, I mean, he's got his riches. The Emperor has his crown, he has his throne, he's got his staff, he's got, wow, it's almost, I want to say it's like a crystal ball that he holds within his hand, and he has mountains behind him, protection. The Hermit is all alone. The Hermit is so basic. All there is a lantern and a staff. That's it. It's like even the ground is plain, the sky, like the difference between the horizon, it's way down here, right? Like it's so low. There's just so much space. There is so much space with the Hermit. It just goes on forever. And that is sort of that space within yourself, is looking into it. Going into a place where there's nothing, there's no distractions. The Hermit goes way beyond even like the Eight of Cups, which is often about, you know, pulling away from society and things that you have commitments to look within and go on a journey and find out what, you know, really brings meaning to you. But this Hermit, it's just the deepest energy for me. It is really, and it is an alone energy. It is very much an alone energy. It is very grounded. But yet the Hermit does guide himself, herself. The Hermit is guiding themselves. They are supporting themselves. It's very basic symbols within this card. Your own light. It is following your own light finally, right? It is being able to put the ego aside and finally follow your own light. Allow your deeper self to communicate to you. There's no one and nothing else around to support you but your own hand on this staff. Your own weight is what supports you. This is a very like deep and introspective card when the Hermit comes out. It's being divine. It is the divine within you, and finally recognizing that. For me, the journey of the Hermit. And it's humble. It is a very humble energy. And that is what we can achieve through going with the Strength card, right? To become humble. To be strong enough to know when your ego is just warning you of danger and when your ego is controlling you. Because most of the time our egos are controlling us. We don't live in a world where danger is always all around us all the time. And the Hermit is very humble energy. He wears a hood. His head is covered, as are many others in the tarot, but they do not have simple headdress. They have crowns. Yeah, they all got crowns. The Hermit is just wearing a simple hood. Is very, very humble. I describe the Hermit to me as like Joseph energy. If I would to describe it as something. This is like the carpenter, like someone who just does very humble work and takes pleasure in just being. And that's kind of the journey here. Like when this Hermit card comes out, it is asking you to just take pleasure in being human being, right? Like just being. There's no distraction. So how many we have here? I'm going to do up to, because yeah, I'm going to need to have a lunch break here. And I'm going to do this video in two. So I think we'll go up to Justice. I'm going to do the Wheel of Fortune and the Justice card. And that'll take us like halfway. And then I'll do another video on the last half of the Major Arcana in the Tarot. So our next one is number 10. The Wheel of Fortune. In some decks it's just called the Wheel, but the Wheel of Fortune. Oh, this is an interesting card. And yeah, and I think it's good to do Justice right after it, because the Wheel of Fortune I really get from this card is karmic energies playing out around the universe. So, you know, karma is constant in every single aspect of your life, whether it's, you know, what your intention was when you stepped out of bed. You know, if you're like, I don't want to do it today, and then you stub your toe. There's karma right there. Like sometimes it's instant, and a lot of times it's just tiny stuff. But then sometimes it's bigger stuff. It has so many different variables. It's not even funny. Like when someone says you're entering a new karmic cycle, it's like you're in and out of so many, like there's so many between different people that you have relationships with, relationship you have with your pet, the relationship you have with yourself, all the physical things around you in your world, in your life. And it's just energy. It's just how energy plays out. Like what you put out is what you receive. Usually, this is a good indicator. This is an indicator that luck is changing for you, that things are going to be more fortunate. Now, it doesn't have to be that. There can be cards outside of it that are saying no. Things don't look so good, but that's often a warning, right? Like I find tarot is really just, it's trying to guide you. How are you energetically? What are you doing with your energy? What is it likely producing for you? Where is this going to go? So if you do get heavier cards, like if you get the Wheel of Fortune with, let's say, the Devil card or the Ten of Swords, this could just be a warning. This is telling you, you know what? You're on a path right now where you're putting yourself into a deeper energetic level, a lower vibrational level, and you're going to be overthinking things. You're going to be worrying a lot. You're probably going to find, with the Devil card, situations coming up that aren't so pleasant. And it's not saying that this is the be all and end all, that this is where your life is going. It's just, I like to say, it's just a little heads up. Hey, you know what? Just be aware of the energy that you are in right now and what you're projecting. Because most of the time, this is good. It is a natural state for us to be in high vibrational energy. When we allow ourselves to release things, like things of the mind, things of the ego, anticipation of things happening, expectations of others, when we release those things, our vibrational energy will naturally go up. And this is what this is. This is good energy. It's when we separate ourselves from that bad things happen. And that's kind of the earthly experience, when we separate ourselves from that natural high vibrational energy. So that is the wheel. And it is not, depending, I don't really attribute any particular zodiac sign with the Wheel of Fortune myself. I like to keep it pretty open. Some readers do, and that's just as right as me not. Like, there's really no right or wrong with the Wheel of Fortune. If I was going to, I would combine it with, I would say, Sagittarius and Capricorn energy, because to me it is either divine or the devil. But that's what you make it. And we kind of have that here. It's like a bit of a devil figure on this wheel, and then we have these divine, all these wings all around. But there's more wing energy than devil. It's how you, it's what you do with your energy, because the devil is what's inside you. It's what you, the demons, that the devil can only work through you. It cannot work through anything else except you. And that, I don't mean that like on a religious level either. I mean that in terms of, it's the darker side of you. It's when we do, I don't want to say you, because I do it too, when we do dumb things, or when we do things that are totally motivated by ego. It removes us from that high vibrational energy. That's all it really is, because it is below earth, right? That's how it's depicted. It's in the depths of earth is hell. It's down there. It's in the inferno. It's low vibrational. That's really what it's trying to tell you. It's low vibrational energy as opposed to high vibrational energy. So now this goes to lovely Libra, the Justice card. Number 11. Lots of duality in this. Number 11 just written as 1-1. Again, a lot of people see that as a spiritual angel connection. And we have, what I love about this, so Libra is an air sign, and the air signs are identified by swords in the tarot. And so she does hold this sword. She holds a sword of truth. So truth is very important in the Justice. There's two scales here, right? It's the scales of justice. We all know it, like in this very typical depiction of justice. But this justice, and why it comes in like after the Wheel of Fortune, is because it really, it talks about this karmic energy that we were just talking about over here. This, what are you doing? What if you put out to the universe is coming back to you? It's coming back to you, honey. And justice is kind of here to remind us of that. So like Libra energy too, like if you know a lot of Librans, they're always trying to be like, they're trying to balance their relationships with people all the time. I find that they're very, and as an Aries, which is actually like Libra is my opposite sign, is Libra. And I'm fascinated by it because as an Aries, it's like, well, if you can't do it my way, I don't know why you're not doing it. But Libra takes that interesting approach where, they may be in a relationship that is not healthy for them, but they're always trying to find a way to create balance in it. They're always trying to create, like everything, they're always trying to create balance. And that's the duality. They still hold their truth, but yet they have another hand here that's occupied with balancing what's going on around them, what they're doing, how they're contributing. And that's what this card is reminding you about too. This card can also quite often have something to do with some sort of legal action that's going on in your life. The biggest reminder with this card is that there will be justice. Now, you may perceive justice to be something that it is not. What this is telling you is that the right thing, the just thing, will occur. So, if you know that you've been stealing money from the till at your job, and you think you deserve that because your boss hasn't been fair, and then you got fired and something happened, this card is here to tell you you're getting what you deserve. I mean, it's absolutely, so you may think, oh, well, justice, okay, that's good. It's fine. I'm finally going to get, you know, what I deserve. But what you deserve is not necessarily what you think you deserve is not necessarily what's coming through with the justice card. So that is only a question that can be answered by the person getting the reading, I feel. And that's what this is. Now, if you were taking money out of the till, there's no way around that. That's not good. It doesn't really matter what your reasoning was. It's just not good. You can't, you know, two wrongs don't make a right with karma and the universe. It doesn't work that way. It might work that way in math, but it does not work that way with the universe. Now, if this is about someone who has, you know, put a lot of themselves into their work or put a lot of themselves into their relationships, and they have not received a lot back in life, and what they were putting in through the goodness of their heart. That's important too, because if you were putting in because you specifically wanted to gain and only for you, that's not good karma either. So this card is really to remind us about, you know, the universe doesn't care what your ego is telling you about truth and just. It's, you know, it's almost as if this sword identifies what the truth is, and then it balances out and plays it back to you. It's a very amazing energy, this Libra energy, this card. And again, we have the pillars. It is almost like, God, like I said, like you could go into this for hours and hours and hours. And this isn't even covering like the zodiac aspect of all the energy and the planetary energies that are associated with the different zodiacs and this is not even the tip of the iceberg. Like this is like a snowflake on the iceberg, what I'm covering in these cards. It's just sort of to get you started and to see, you know, how they represent, what they represent in a reading. So yeah, I think it's kind of interesting to finish with justice here. The pillars, the duality of right and wrong. How do you perceive that? This is just an interesting card. I just think you could go on forever with that one. So I'm going to move these down a little bit. I'm going to know that we're going to start with the Hanged Man for the next video and move into the rest of the major arcana. So there you go. I've never done this before, so I hope it's working for you. Just talking. I'm trying not to jabber too much because I know like this is a lot of information, so this is not the time for me to go into all of my personal stories. And yeah, so this is just how to read these cards. I'm still going to go into like how these cards communicate with each other when you're doing a reading, how important that can be as well. But I wouldn't watch that until you've got a basic concept on what the basic meaning of these cards are for yourself. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'm leaving the comments open for these ones. Please, if I can answer questions, I'll try. But I've got a lot to do. So I don't want to make a promise I can't keep. But I know you guys will be able to provide answers for one another as well. All right. Until the next video, be gentle with yourselves. Bye.